This foldable 26-inch fat-wheeled e-bike is the Bezior X1500. So the 1500, of course, stands for the power output from our rear hub motor. So very powerful, that 1500 watts peak. The brand of fat tire we have are Chow Yang. Now they're 4 inches wide, 26 inches, these tires, and I've only got about 11 PSI in them. The maximum is 20, so they're pretty spongy at the moment. They do soak up a lot of the rough ground and roads that we do have around Denia, and that's why I'm a big fan of the fat-wheeled tired e-bikes, because I like the look of them, but I really do love the ride comfort you gain from such a style of tire. The brakes, they're hydraulic 160mm from a known brand, Zoom. It does have full suspension. The shock is really an unknown brand here. It's an oil spring setup and it's okay. It's better than nothing. Not really an amazing quality shock. And you'll notice I've got a key dangling here. That's because our removable battery is locked into place. The front shock is also an unknown brand shock. It's got about 60 to 70 millimeters of travel. I can make out from the grease marks here. You've got adjustable preload and it can be locked out completely. My complaint about this front shock is it does make a bit of a clanking noise, especially when you go over bumps. That's the only time you'll hear it do this. Bezior does include these plastic mudguards. I don't really need them with this climate and I don't tend to ride in the rain, but it's good that we've got them. They are plastic, they feel a little bit cheap and they do bang around and clank around a little bit when you're riding, especially over rough ground. And our pedals are another no-name component here. So they're not Walgo pedals, they're made out of alloy and they do seem to be all right. The front hub does have a quick release, but the rear does not. The X1500 is a 27-speed setup, so we have 9 gears on the rear cassette and we have 3 at the front here. It is the Shimano Altus, the setup, and I've had no problems with it. Out of the box, everything has been aligned correctly. The cabling is external with this bike, and I can see why they've done this because of the foldable design to it. There just wouldn't be room in here either because we've got our battery pack inside. So as I mentioned before, it's locked into place. This is our release mechanism. So you've got a little security latch here to make sure it's not going to pop out. Not that that would normally happen, but it's good to have this. So you need to push it forward and then you just pull on our latch there to unlock the bike. And this is what it looks like when it does fold in half. So the handlebars cannot fold down. You can drop the seat down, of course. And this just aids in the stowage of it. So you could put it maybe under a stairwell. It's going to take up half the size, but getting it into the trunk or a boot of a car was still quite difficult as it is a very large bike and it's heavy too to lift it in. So I don't see a lot of people doing that. It's more just to make it smaller for stowing it away. The battery, of course, can now be removed and the size of this battery is 12.8 amp hours or 614 watt hours. It does take about 5 to 6 hours to fully charge. The weight of the e-bike is 25 kilos, so it's not the heaviest out of this style of e-bike that I've reviewed with 26-inch style rims, and foldable, of course, makes it a little bit more heavier. It's certainly not the lightest either. The X1500 does have a dual LED front headlight. It's quite bright, so it lights up the path ahead of you, and I do find it is safe for nighttime riding, so that's good. It does not have a rear tail light at all. The throttle here is only activated when it is in pedal assist level 0. So right now I'm in pedal assist level 1, which goes up to 5, and it currently does nothing. The brake levers, they feel good, being hydraulic, and your standard gear selectors here. So this is to go down the gears. There's a trigger right here too to go up them. It does seem to be working well, and as I mentioned, there's no issues with the alignment with the derailleur. Bezior did not use lock grips. They've gone for a cheaper, common rubber style grip here, but they are on quite tight. They don't seem to spin around. So we have up and down our pedal assist levels. This M button here is the mode for the display, so you can cycle between the trip and odometer. There is no electric buzzer, but they have included a bell. The screen is a common model here. It's an S700, very clear. You can see your speed, pedal assist levels. That's 0 up to 5. We've got a trip meter, odometer, and the battery indicator here at the top. And you can see I currently have the headlight on, which is shown on the display. The seat post does have a quick release, and our seat does not have a lot of padding to it. It's quite hard, and it's more like a mountain bike style seat. Included inside the box with the X1500, we have a cheap pump and bike lock, and some tools to assemble the bike. So another stunner of a day here for testing out e-bikes. A lot of people on the beach, summertime here now. I've been a tourist spot, it gets quite busy, so I have to go at midday when it is the hottest. Now this bike, to me, it kind of looks like those 1990s, late 1990s cheap dual suspension bikes. The style of the frame being quite rectangular and with the rear suspension on it. Now the bike, you can of course adjust the seat height and it goes down reasonably low. Check their website for the exact rider heights, but I believe it's from about 150 centimeters up to about 190. This plastic mudguard, as I pointed out before, feels a bit cheap, kind of gets in the way, especially when you go to get on the bike. I noticed that quite a bit, that I often end up hooking it, which is annoying. I'll probably end up taking it off because it barely even rides here. Now the kickstand, that is supporting the weight of the bike just fine. Pedal assist, so you've got the 5 levels, and when you start to pedal, the speed sensor kicks in really quick, so there's no big noticeable delay like some of the bikes I have reviewed. Now you feel the weight of this bike straight away, especially in the turns with the front wheel, the weight of it. The front shock, you can probably hear that. It makes a bit of a clanking noise. It does feel a bit cheap to me. The rear suspension, that rear oil shock has a bit of suspension bob too when I ride. I feel it just going up and down. And of course these fat tires soaking up a lot of the bumps. The tires are probably doing more work than suspension almost. So going up this, I don't even need to lift the front wheel because those tires, they just soak it up. Motor noise, well, you can't really hear it. I can't really hear that motor at the moment, even in the top pedal assist level. It's a very quiet motor, but very powerful, 1500 watts. Our Shimano gears are good, so the 3 at the front, the 9 at the rear, no problems with the changes. It seems to be well aligned out of the box, which of course is what you want. It's a very smooth, comfortable bike. Riding along right now, it feels very cruisy. It doesn't feel like a playful bike due to the weight of it being about 25 kilos. In fact, it's over that. But nice, comfortable, smooth ride, and I'm in a relatively upright riding position too, which helps. So a bit of rough road ahead is not a problem, of course, for this bike with a full suspension, soft fat tires, and let's see how it handles. A little bit of rough road here, so these pavers are all over the place, very up and down, and again, I can hear that front shock clanking about. I can feel the rear shock working a little bit, mostly the front, but it's very annoying, that clanky front shock. Climb test now. So with a 1500 watt motor, I know that this is just going to have no problems at all going out this climb. So I'm in pedal assist level 5 and speed is dropping down a little bit, but I am in the 9th gear there, so I'm going to put it into a lower gear here. So it's going up just fine, but it's not doing quite as well as I thought it would with a 1500 watt motor. I really expected this to be rocketing up. I don't have to put that much effort in. I would say it's probably about 30% my effort, 70% the bike. Emergency braking test now. So this is one thing they did get right. Zoom brand brakes. So from the white post here. All right, that is not bad at all. It took a little bit longer to brake than some other bikes, but that's well within what I would call a good braking distance. And I do like the brakes on this. However, the size of the bike and the weight, I kind of feel like they should have gone for 180mm disc brakes instead of 160, but they do work really well, these Zoom hydraulic brakes. And onto our range then. So they do claim out of its just over 12 amp hour battery that you can get up to 100 kilometers the range. I really don't think that is possible for most. I certainly cannot get anywhere near that. Normally with 26-inch style bikes, with the fat wheels at least, you have a 20 amp hour battery, almost double the capacity, or even 25 amp hours. And this model here, the range is a bit disappointing. So I'm looking at around about 40 kilometers tops out of this on a single charge, using the pedal assist level 3, 4, and 5 most of the time. So if you use one, maybe you can extend your range a little more. The more you ride, of course, the less it's going to be using the battery, rider weight, and then the riding condition. So the climbing performance for 1500 watts, I find a little disappointing compared to some other bikes that I have covered. I've covered many now, something like about 25 e-bikes now, maybe even over. And with 1,000 watts, some of those bikes climb better than this with a similar 48 volt system that this does run. So fine for 1,500 watts. It feels like it's lacking a little, but the climbing performance is still very good. It's just not the best out there. That front shock is a disappointment to me. It's a no brand front shock, rear shock as well, which is very common with these style of bikes, but I don't like the fact that it does make that clanking kind of noise. It knocks. It doesn't give me a lot of confidence there. What gives me confidence, however, and this is a good thing, is the fold in the middle. It sits flush, the latch and lock mechanism is very good. I've never felt any flex in this or in the rest of the frame. It's just that front shock that makes the noise that you've heard throughout this video. The gears, fine, no problems with them being Shimano, even at this entry level with the shocks, with the gears there, they are fine. I've had no issues going through them. And you've got the 3 at the front here with the front crank, front cogs there, and then the cassette at the rear has 9, so you've got plenty of gears to go through, lots of combinations you can test out to find what's best for you. Front headlight is okay, so all up it's a bike that it just feels like they cheaped out, certainly on some components there. So that's the full story of the Bezior X1500. Thank you so much for watching.